Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much. Welcome to Punchline Africa Television. This show is Diplomatic Links. It's a show that goes behind the diplomatic lines to find out what is happening on the continent of Africa, what is happening in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Uganda, in Rwanda, in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, and across the continent, the entire continent, in ECOWAS, what is going on in Libya, what is taking place in Khartoum, in Sudan, and Asmara, behind the enemy lines of diplomats, career diplomats and non-career diplomats, and those doing silent diplomacy to bring about peace on the continent of Africa. Good morning. This morning, we have a guest who will be joining us shortly, right from the capital city of Zimbabwe, Harare. My guest is an Pan-African lady. A lady, as you know, Zimbabwean ladies speak out their minds. There's one in the United States, and there is another one in Zimbabwe who speaks her mind out. And she has an organization by name, the League Africa for Women. She has already given me a glimpse of what is going to take place when she said she fights for her space. My guest is none other than Honorable Masivira from Zimbabwe, who will be coming in shortly. But before she comes in shortly, we want to look at Africa at a glance that Miriam and others had looked at, newspapers on Africa. I don't think you had the time to do that. I watched that. Yes, there she is. So Linda Tungurai Masivira will be joining us. She's struggling to join. Here she is. Our guest is a fighter for women, women's rights, women's space on the continent of Africa. Our guest, and this is what we are going to be doing this year. We need more special guests from African countries to come on our show, tell us what is going on. Is there a need for change of system of governance? Africa lacks a governance system. We follow elections. There is no rule in the world that says you should have elections. Where? But we have just followed the colonialists, and they came and said every 5 years we need elections. How were our leaders, the four founding fathers, the fathers who brought Africa to where it is known as Africa, how were they governing themselves? Do Africans understand what elections are? How many Africans know what a democratic space is? Do we abuse our democratic space? Do we injure others in the process of seeking democracy, also in the process of suppressing democracy? These are some of the things that I will be talking this year without fear or favor, bold steps. It is a no-go zone. If you don't have the capability to stand my questioning, then you don't come on my show, because I will be running for elections. We ask my American, which is collapsed, a corrupt state in America. Is there democracy in America? We ask them to give us money for elections. We have money in Nigeria, the biggest economy on the continent of Africa. People sleep like the old stone age on water. 60 years, Nigeria has no electricity. Is it the blame of the men who colonized you? They left you the country. 16 presidents on the continent of Africa, Nigeria alone, from Baba Tafawa Balewa to Buhari. We don't have electricity. Surely, I want to thank Uhuru Kenyatta in Kenya for 97.9 people in Kenya. There is power. You can go anywhere in Kenya and you can have the power and you switch on, not generator. When you go to Dubai, you find most Nigerians carrying generators from Dubai. 60 years, no power in Nigeria. Is it the problem of the colonialism? Our guest today will explain some of these things. And I'm told women want special parity gender rule. Do women in Zimbabwe ask for special treatment in parliament? We want to know. Why do women in Kenya ask for special treatment? Is it because the Kenyan system has oppressed women that they are asking special treatment? Welcome to the show, my guest, Linda Tungurai Musasirira. If I can't, Musasirira. I will now use the name Linda so that there is a flow of questions. Thank you very much. Welcome to the show, Linda, from Zimbabwe, in Harare, capital city. You have tried to become an MP of this.
Thank you for inviting me.
An MP for this country called Zimbabwe. You have struggled. You have a party called Lead Party. Just take the floor and tell us who you are. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Matsanga, for inviting me to this wonderful Pan-Africanist show. I am very humbled, truly humbled to be your guest to this morning. And my name is Linda Tungurai Musasirira, the founding president of Labour Economists and African Democrats, LEAD, 100% organically homegrown political party in Zimbabwe. And I am 39 years old. I'm turning 40 this year on the 3rd of October. The main reason why we decided to form another political party in this country was the realization of the absence of ideological clarity when it comes to issues to do with Pan-Africanism and taking an Afrocentric approach to our governance system, our legal system, our justice system, etc., etc. I'm one person who has interrogated thoroughly our governance system in this country and realized that since 1980, our war liberators and the gallant sons and daughters of this land, when they took over power, they forgot to amend the governance system that was being used during the Smith regime. They just took over that system, presided over it, and never made any effort whatsoever to ensure that they change some of these laws which are oppressive, suppressive, and repressive, which they were fighting against during the liberation struggle. It is unfortunate that when they came out of the war of liberation, they came up with a hangover of the war liberation. They wanted to live the life that the white people were living. They wanted to stay in their houses. They wanted to eat their food. They just wanted to do everything that the colonizer was doing. And now 40 years after independence, we are still in that space where everyone in this country now also says the current government is oppressive, the current government is repressive, but no one wants to look at the finer details. The finer details goes to the legal system that we are using, the governance system that we inherited from the Smith regime, which needs to be amended, which needs to be changed. We need to get to a stage where we interrogate these issues, sit on a round table and say, we have to change some of these laws which do not benefit African people. And this situation that I'm speaking about is not only happening in Zimbabwe, it's happening in most African countries. Very few countries made an effort to ensure that they eradicate some of the laws that were left by the colonizers. We just adopted everything, and the political systems that we have are foreign. We cannot even follow those political systems, but we keep on saying that we want to follow democracy. Whose democracy? Who defined this democracy for us? Because in the Western countries themselves, where they say they're the masters of democracy, there is no democracy at all. The democracy that they preach to us is a farce. But at the end of the day, as long as us, the African people, are not championing our own cause, are not moving forward the African agenda for African people, we are doing an injustice to ourselves. That is why when we were looking for a name for our political party, we said we just do not want to focus on the politics in Zimbabwe, but we want to focus on the politics of Africa as a whole, because we are one continent that was divided into 55 states. We are a continent that was divided and partitioned at the Berlin Conference for the interests of the Europeans and the white people. But at the end of the day, that partitioning divided us so much to the extent that we think that another African is a foreigner in their own land. There's no African who is a foreigner in another African country. And that is what we have to learn to appreciate, to respect each other as African people. And as long as we do not respect each other as African people and continue getting freebies and handouts from the Americans or the Europeans, we are doing a great injustice to ourselves, to the future of this great nation, and actually retrogressing on the agenda of uniting Africa for Africans and developing Africa into a first world continent.
Thank you very much, Linda. And I want to tell all my technical team to be online, to send the links to the world. We are online. We need the links on the world. You are sleeping on duty. I need those links on the world. Stop it. The links, people in Zimbabwe asking for links in Khartoum, in where? You don't have the link. Thank you very much, Linda. As we go, you have raised a very important question. Africa took over a situation where they did not change the laws. You have quoted your own country, Zimbabwe. 40 years of independence. The same age. It's very rare for a woman to tell us the age, but I think the women in Zimbabwe are very honest. If you ask any of the ladies on this show to say how old they are, some of them don't want to say it. But it is normal for ladies not to tell the age. But you have told us 39 years, you are turning 40. And that's the way I question. Now, is it the mistake of the people, or is the mistake of the leaders who took over from the colonial masters?
I would say the mistake is the mistake of the leaders, because when they were taking over power, they should have had a strategy and an agenda of political reform to ensure that they would not preside over the same system that they were fighting against. Because now, 42 years after independence, we still have the nature of the government being oppressive like the government that they took over from, which is not their fault, but it is lack of planning, lack of ensuring that they come up with a system that works to develop African people, a system that works to develop the ordinary Zimbabwean. Well, I can give you an example of the Land Appropriation Act. Yes, Zimbabwe successfully took back the land, and we now own our own land, but we're in a situation where the very same neo-colonialists came back and said they wanted compensation for the land that we took from them. Who is going to compensate the native Zimbabwean who was displaced years back to arid areas where they cannot even farm or do anything? We need to be able to come up with ways where we take up full ownership of our land, because the land in Africa belongs to Africans. The land in Africa belongs to us, and there's no one who should come and dictate to us what we do with our land or how we use our land. It is unfortunate that the white people continue to suppress us and want to use their own policies against us, to divide us, and to use us and manipulate us so that they continue looting and abusing our own resources and our own land, yet native Zimbabweans and Africans will be suffering in the process. It is unfortunate that the type of education that we are getting in our schools does not teach us to be entrepreneurs, does not teach us to be farmers, does not teach us to be producers. It teaches us to work, but to work for who? Growing up, I realized that we hardly saw white people in the towns. We hardly saw white people in the CBD. They'll be in the mines and the farms making real money. But when it comes to the black person, and when you try to empower them and tell them that money is in the soil, go and farm, go and mine, they'll tell you that I don't want that, I want a white collar job. But they don't know that that is where the real wealth lies. And it is important for us as Africans to be able to change the education system we have in this country and stop following this Western type of education that we're continuously fed, which keeps us in a state of poverty, cycles of poverty which continue within our families because we are failing to think outside the box, to think in a way that will create wealth for us and future generations to come.
This is serious material that you are releasing here. So, Linda, and the viewers across the world and the globe, Africa, who are listening to us, Linda has stated the case of Zimbabwe 42 years after independence. The laws remain the same. The same in Kenya. Until 1992 is when Kenya started repealing some of the laws. Even up to today, there is a law that does not allow you to walk on the railway line. For example, there was a law in Kenya which says if you are found crossing the railway line and walking on the railway line without permission from the authorities, you could be arrested. There are laws like trespassing. Is there a law like trespassing in Africa? Many of you who come from different places go to your neighbors without permission. But we still have laws in Africa, in some parts of Africa, where people say there is trespassing. If you are found trespassing in one's property, you are charged with very serious offense, and it could be on national television. Now, moving from the colonial hangover, which we still have, our leaders did what they could. We have moved 60 years of over independence. Are you surprised that we are still where we were? Or are you surprised that we are going back? Given that Nkrumah told us to have political unity and then economic emancipation will come. Are you shocked that Democratic Republic of Congo, which has minerals, is asking for $2.2 billion to do an election? Linda.
I am not shocked at all. Why? Because contrary to the vision of the African Union, which is an integrated, prosperous and peaceful Africa driven by its citizens and representing a dynamic force in the global arena, AU has failed to live up to its mandate as it is controlled by the West. Who is funding the African Union? Is the World Bank, is the Americans, etc., etc. How can we have a union of Africans being funded by the Western governments? Why are African leaders failing to put money together and run their own union? That is the biggest tragedy that we have, that since we moved from the Organization of African Unity, which had a clear mandate to ensure that they eradicate the vestiges of all colonialism in Africa, we went forward as Africans and adopted the Western type of governance system, the Western type of doing things in the name of the African Union. We forgot that we still had an agenda as African people to depolarize our communities, to decolonize mindsets. We forgot all that because our African leaders are greedy, they are selfish, they are crooked, and they want to pocket all the money and forget about the real interests of Africa, which is developing Africa into a first world continent, which is developing Africa for African people, using our own natural resources to create wealth for every African person. It boggles my mind day in and day out why we still have the poorest, some of the poorest people in the world in Africa. Yet we have got vast mineral resources in this continent. We have got such a status in this continent because we've got leaders who don't care. Leaders who just think about their own families. Leaders who just think about their own clans. I'm very impressed about what the prince did in Dubai. He turned Dubai into a first world country over a very few years. He made sure that his people are living comfortably. What is it that we're failing to do as African people? Why are we so obsessed with primitive accumulation of wealth at the expense of our very own people? Why are we still running to the West and East with begging bowls, yet the very same West and East owe Africa reparations? We should be demanding reparations from those countries. America is what it is today because of the sweat and blood of African people. The United Kingdom is what it is today, and the wealth that they have is from Africa. African people, we are tired of you, the West. We are tired of you, the East. We are not going to let go of our resources. We are going to keep our resources and pay the price that we want for our resources. I was shocked to learn that it only costs about 54 US cents to print $100 USD bill. And we are busy selling our resources at a pittance, and there are reserves of gold in China, reserves of gold in America, the West, Europe, Germany, etc. Minerals coming from Africa. But in our very own African countries, we don't even have reserves. We've got very weak currencies, yet the minerals are coming from Africa. So it goes back to the leaders. They have failed African people, and it is time that our generation, the younger generation, starts reorganizing and calling out all these neo-colonialists and start demanding for reparations in Africa and holding back our minerals so that they develop our own countries. It is very important for us to be able to understand that multilateralism failed Africa. Multilateralism is just another way of ensuring that they loot from Africa in a diplomatic manner. International cooperation is too Western-centric, whereas Western powers always expect Africa to come to the party so that they continue to control Africa, loot our mineral resources in exchange of aid. Why are we failing to have Afrocentric systems? Why are we always calling out for aid? What is it that we cannot do? Yet we've got some of the best brains. Look at the people who are running the show in those Western countries. Most of them are African people. Why are we failing to have systems that promote growth in Africa, that promote innovation, that promote technology in our own continent? We have to get to a stage where we say, how do we define where we are going? How do we protect the interests of Africa? Because as long as we are going to be expecting the likes of China, America, and other superpowers to be aiding us time and again, we are going to end up with no continent to talk of at the end of the day, because we are seeing neo-colonialism happening right in front of us, and some of us are ululating, gyrating and dancing, clapping hands for the very same aid which is destroying Africa and entrenching poverty to the African people.
Thank you very much. So, Linda, in summary, as you finish your, not actually, so that I allow in other people to come, maybe add on, ask you questions. The problem of Africa is our own Africans, is ourselves. That is the way from the speech that you have made, is our own problem. We have the minerals, but we pay to print $1, which we want so much, yet the minerals printing the dollar come from our place.
Yes.
So we must be cast. Are we bewitched? I want to ask my panel. There are so many interesting issues here, which come to my mind when you talk about $1 being printed for 4 cents, and then it is sold. It is a very demandable money everywhere. Even when you give your son your local money, he said, "Daddy, I want $1." No, it is, are we the enemies of our own? And the panel, watch out all these other people, the panel, Stawish, Sharon, Daniel, Miriam, listen to this conversation. The conversation across Africa. And if you want to join this conversation, the Zoom number is on our flyer. It is 399-535-8320. If I'm not mistaken. If you want to join this conversation, the flyer is very clear in the blue letters. Join us and talk to us. Linda has brought out very important issues. Linda, let me, before I bring in others, there's one thing that you might have said, amending the Constitution. The Lancaster Agreement of 1980 of Zimbabwe, when it was hammered, I was still alive. When it is implemented, I have been alive. When it was revoked, I was alive. It is said for 15 years. Nobody in Zimbabwe, I think by then you are still very young. And I was there. I was part of that struggle. that for 15 years, nobody in Zimbabwe should touch any letter, any change, even a comma. You remember that? There's a clause in your constitution. So when Mugabe took over power in Zimbabwe, he had a constitution that had tied his legs and his hands, and he was told to swim in Zambezi River infected with crocodiles. Yes. President Mugabe, the late, kept on the spirit, reconciled with Ian Smith, took Zimbabweans to that journey of reconciliation. Because some people in Africa tell me lies that Mandela was the first person to reconcile. Rubbish. Mandela did not reconcile, didn't even know what reconciliation was. That's why Mandela was taken to Robben Island, because he did not reconcile. He went there because he failed to reconcile with the whites. The first person who reconciled with the whites is the late Robert Mugabe. May his soul rest in peace. When he came out, everybody wanted him to take on Ian Smith. You know, many Zimbabweans said, what is it that you have seen what my sister has just said here? People were annoyed. We changed the color. We wanted to eat pork, sausage, whatever they were eating. We even today, in Kenya, in Uganda, apart from me, I speak my Ugandan English. But in Zimbabwe, people pretend to speak like a whites. Am I wrong, Linda? No?
No, you're not.
You can't go to with a Zimbabwean for an interview and you pass in Britain. They will take the Zimbabwean. Yes, because they speak like English. So we copied everything. Tea at 10 o'clock, food at this. Friday, I am off. Sunday, don't call me. Saturday, I am going to the market with my family to shop. Who told you that our brothers used to shop on Saturday? The older men. Who told you? Wesonga, who told you? Tawish, who has told you that your wife tells you to go and shop on Saturday, every Saturday, that you have to be seen in the market with Madame? No. We have copied these ideas from the colonial master. We have copied them, and our ladies and our men have followed them. They have followed that on Saturday, the white man used to remove his tie and wear casual. Nobody has followed Kaunda suit like Matanga. I have my Kaunda suit because it was invented by Kaunda himself, the late. I'm happy that way. And the Nyerere suit. But people, they remove the tie. Wesonga removes it. On Saturday, you find him casual because a white man used to. This is part of what has killed Africa. We've lost the time in copying things that don't work. And then we want one thing called elections. Election. How can you copy somebody who has had the election for 1,850 years? That is Britain. And you want to copy him when you have election, you are only 42 years old in Zimbabwe. That's where Africa has got a problem. If someone disagrees with me on this, bring another view. So let me, Linda, unless you have something else to say now, I want to open the panel.
Okay, into what you were saying, I think the problem in Africa goes just beyond copying. We should appreciate the fact that what happened to us as African people is deeper than that. It was the introduction of the foreign religion, which a lot of Africans follow. And they indoctrinated us using the Bible, and we cannot run away from that. They came and told us to let go of our own African systems, our own African religion. They took away our identity. They took away our culture. They left us with no self-determination at all, to the extent that most African people will call their own ancestors evil, demonic, satanic, and whatsoever. Yet they worship the ancestors that are in the Bible. There is an oxymoron there, which a lot of people do not understand. And when we go forward, you'll find that we have been so accustomed to follow the Bible at the expense of our own ways of doing things. And when we want to do things the African way, we are going to choose which type of Africanness we are going to use. I always give this example to a lot of my Zimbabwean sisters and brothers. They will tell you that they do not do Chivanu, which is our own African way of doing things in Zimbabwe, the African traditional religion. But you'll find that every man and woman in Zimbabwe goes to pay lobola the African way, the Chivanu way. They go and pay the cows for the mother, which is Mombeye Umai, which is an African tradition and has got its own connotations in Africa. They'll go and do a whole lot of other things that are African tradition in nature when they are marrying. But when it comes to observing our own African tradition, they'll tell us that it's demonic. So you'll find that a lot of African people are confused. They've got a self-identity crisis. That is why Africans are not probably the only people in the world that have two weddings. Why should we have two weddings? I'm going to have a white wedding. I'm going to have a court wedding. I'm going to have an African wedding. What kind of nonsense is that? Africans have made the Chinese wig and makeup industry a $1 billion industry because most of the people want to look like white people. I'm being serious. Why should you be tying funny hair in your hair or Indian hair in your hair?
Oh my God. Linda, you are killing so many people on this panel.
No, I am just trying to be realistic.
I am encouraging you. I am encouraging you, my sister, to speak. Some people here on this panel, their hearts are gone. Listen now. When you talk, yes.
Beauty should be defined by self. We need to be able to appreciate the way we are. I love my blackness. I love my melanin. A lot of people have told me that I'm ugly, and I tell them to go to hell. This is the way I was created. I don't need to put a layer of cream on my face for me to feel beautiful. I don't need to go and sew on hair from another person for me to feel beautiful. I've got my own natural hair. This is my hair.
Okay.
I don't need to paint my lips for me to feel beautiful. I mean, we need to start African people. Why are we always copying the white people? I've never seen any white person putting an Afro wig and putting it on their heads. I have never seen that.
Exactly.
White people trying to emulate black people. Why are we always trying to define beauty the way it's defined by the West and the East? Why are we failing to show our own Africanness and take out that Africanness inside us and putting it outside? As long as we do not interrogate these issues, we will keep on crying out that we are not proceeding, we are not developing. How do we develop when we do not own our own thought process, when we do not have independent clarity of thought, when our thought process is defined by what we watch from the TVs and we don't want to celebrate our own Africanness and our own beauty? We need to restore Africa's identity. We need to find each other as African people and say, how do we start being proud of who we are as African people? As long as we are not proud of ourselves, there is no way that we are going to develop our continent. There's no way that we are going to unite. There's no way we are going to have confidence in creating a powerful currency for Africa. We will continue crying for the US dollars or the euros, which are perfectly useless to us. We need to re-identify with our roots, reconnect with ourselves, and unleash the power that we have to make Africa great again.
Thank you very much, Madam. I think you have joined the right club here. You have a partner here called David Matsanga. That's what I advocate for. We are together on this. But first of all, thank you very much, Linda, for opening us the space ladies and gentlemen on the panel and others, then the one of 2019 TZ, who is this? I want to bring, are you from Zimbabwe or where are you from? We want to bring you in. We want to know whether you want to take part in the discussion or not. But let me come back to Miriam, our panel you have heard. I have the panel of Miriam Ogutu, Samuel Olisasana, Tawish, Daniel Wesong, and Sharon Gitonga, and an unnamed person whom I don't know. Please, I now open the debate. You have heard a lot. Let me begin with ladies first. I don't know whether I go for Sharon, because she might be on the road leaving. Let's get Sharon, then Miriam, or I go for Miriam. Whoever wants to open up, ladies first. Miriam, take Sharon, she's opening. Sharon, you have heard the match. You have heard Madame Honorable Linda Msasirira from Zimbabwe. She has said it all. She said it is our problem. We even copy things like lipstick. We change colors to impress people. We even print $1 and then demand the euro from our own resources. What's your comment?
Thank you very much, Dr. Matsanga, and of course, Honorable Linda, for your robust, conversations. And probably if I could backtrace to one question that has stood out for me that Dr. Matsanga, you've asked whether it is the people or the leadership. And I think both the leadership and the people are at stake, because Linda has talked clearly about the need to properly plan on different structural reforms that will ensure we are not continually oppressed and manipulated at the detriment of our own resources. She's also talked about the education systems that really need to be looked into so that it can, we ensure creativity and innovativeness. And I was looking at, the situation here in Kenya. I remember when, the CBC was introduced, and there was so much, mixed reactions about all that. And for me, I believe this is going to, really be a game changer to ensure that, we walk out of the poverty cycles and the over-reliance of the white-collar jobs. And I think the younger generation has really to reorganize and put across, systems that will ensure that they promote and stir up economic growth. Given that we are a rich, continent, Africa is rich. We have minerals and enough resources. But then also to answer the question about not just leadership, I believe even us as the people, we have a part to blame, because we are the people that, put the same leaders in office. There's a common saying that says, a thorn with which you pick with your own arrow does not hurt, because at the end of the day, we are the people that lose. All the choices that we make have consequences. If we do not hold the leaders accountable, we continue to languish in poverty and stagnation. So Africa, in a nutshell, and as I conclude, Africa countries have to come up together and develop smart, solutions to unlock the blue economy while protecting health and sustainability, and at the same time, work together and trade amongst each other, trade amongst ourselves, that we are able to even get to the part, we get to a point of, being part of globalization, and probably we are able to trade amongst ourselves. We are going to, in a way, avoid the over-reliance of the West. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sharon, you put up a case. You saw, is it the leaders to blame? Is it ourselves? Is it the mindset? Miriam, we have been here. We are there. Today, you and I have agreed on a number of things before. Some we have not agreed. Today, we are having a guest right from another country, very far from us. It's actually 3 hours flight by Jumbo Jet to arrive in Harare. She's telling us how women there are fighting for their space. You women in Kenya seem to be waiting for gender parity to slot you slots. Begin from there, my dear sister.
Doc, I think that is part of the requirement in the Constitution, and there's a reason why it was put there, because of the history of this country and how the laws were set and the society and the culture that really affected and did not allow women to fully participate in these very important, places like, politics and other things that are really important in terms of advancing development of the society in general. So I think that conversation is way deeper than just women seeking to be dished out positions. And indeed in Kenya, we've seen women, a good number of them, going out there and fighting for these positions and being elected. And in this parliament we're having right now, we have a record number of governors who are women who were elected, other leaders who were elected. So I think that conversation is debatable, but I'll leave that for now. A couple of issues, Linda, that you have raised there, and the lack of leadership in this continent. I think that is a crisis that we do have, and I absolutely agree with you that ends up affecting us as a population in this continent. What we have is gatekeepers, people who have no interest of what will better their citizens. And I think when you started, you raised the issue of African Union, an organization that is supposed to be championing for our well-being, that is supposed to be championing for whatever it is that we want in this continent. But it can't do that, because at the end of the day, we don't even fund it fully. It is funded by the Western powers. So at the end of the day, they get to decide for us what should be done and the agenda that we should advance in this continent, which I think is quite sad. So that is something and a challenge that perhaps our leaders should take on, and perhaps we could demand better as a population in this continent. And of course, I think throughout your the points that you've raised, it's very clear that the continent, we could be suffering so much from the Stockholm syndrome. We are still psychologically attached to our oppressor in a way that we don't we see, even in Kenya here, for example, a couple of things that have been manufactured locally. You'll find people not embracing that very well, because they think this has been made locally. Surely it can't be of good quality. And I've always had a problem with that, because we have grown to be socialized to believe as long as it's coming from outside, it's good quality, it's better, it's all that. So I think that boils down to the identity crisis that you mentioned. I think it is time we started embracing ourselves for who we are, and have confidence on who we are as a people and what we can do, and maybe that's when we can see serious change here in the continent. And I think we happen to be our greatest enemy at the end of the day, because in so many forums and even conversations we've had here before, it's easier to blame other countries. It's easier to blame France. It's easier to blame the United States. It's easier to blame China and the kind of influence and inroads they're making right now in the continent. It's easier to point a finger at somebody else out there. And that, at the end of the day, absolves us from taking responsibility in the part that we are playing in getting us to where we are here today. So Africa, we are our greatest enemy. And so we should stop with this escapism, because it's easier. When you're blaming somebody else, you escape responsibility. We should take on responsibility and say, what is it that we've been doing as a continent? And how has this been working for us? And what is it that we can learn, reconcile the past, with the present, and how can we charter our own future? But that can only be if we are really ready, to act independently, like the independent states, countries that we claim to be, that we are, which, that is also arguable, because there are countries in this continent that don't even have their national budgets done in their countries. It's still done outside. So I think it's very sad. And a lot of issues there, Linda, that you've raised that are really important and pertinent. And these are conversations that we must have if we have
medium. And the two ladies or the three ladies. Now I want to hear contribution from men. Tawish Samuel. Honorable Linda raised quite a number of questions. Miriam says The Constitution of Republic of Kenya allows gender parity. But why do we put it in the Constitution when men and women have to fight on equal basis? The United States never put it in the Constitution. Britain never put it in the Constitution. You see that? Yeah, yes, you collect all of them, then you answer. Because you note them down. Why did we put it in the Constitution then? Because we saw an oppression of women in this country. That's what Miriam has said. And because there were women here whose, rights were trodden upon. Nobody was talking about them. That's why they felt we should raise up the bar. Tawish, those are some of the points. And one Miriam captured one of the points that on this continent, there are people still printing money from outside. All budgets are being done from Paris. Surely, this is over 60 years of independence. We have an Africa where a budget is done in Paris and sent to you. Tawish, are we bewitched?
Thank you so much, Dr. David Masanga from the Political Command Center. Thank you to our colleague, guest panelists, as well, of course, our chief guest, all the way from Harare, Zimbabwe. That is Madam Linda Masarira, if I got the name right. And Dr. this is a very great conversation we are having this morning or afternoon, depending on where you're watching us from. Indeed, I want to register my much appreciation to Linda for the kind of struggle, advocacy, and being the chief crusader for Africa and what is right for the people of Africa. And I think this is the kind of leadership, this is the kind of voice that we really want and desire as the people of this continent, because anyone will really be asking, how come that Africa is rich and our people are poor? This is the question that one of our analysts, that is Sharon Gitonga, did raise, that it's a very big irony. We have so much of mineral resources, we have so much of potential when it comes to manpower and everything at our disposal that God's blessed us with as a continent. But again, we are the people who are still wailing in abject poverty as we speak today. And we continue to rely on the Western power countries to be able even sometimes to feed our people. It's very, very unfortunate and despicable. But I think the biggest challenge that is the people of Zimbabwe are facing are almost similar to those that Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and every of the African countries are really facing today. Why am I saying so? Because poor governance, corruption, and lack of unity of purpose have remained the biggest of impediments and challenges to Africa taking off as a continent. And when we talk about these challenges, what is the commitment? What is the leadership and the people ready to be able to address this? And I think Honorable Linda did adduce to that fact about, of course, the African Union and how it has not lived up to the aspiration and the desire and what the founding fathers of the African continent really dreamt of this continent, because it appears we drifted off, we left the land journey, and that is why up to date we still continue to face these perennial problems. But we can say that the dream has not completely fizzled out. The dream for a better Africa still lingers on, and this dream can only be realized if we have, of course, the advocates, the likes of Linda, the likes of Dr. Masanga, and the others who come and sacrifice their all to make sure that we can have a better Africa. And many times coming out and even challenging leadership in the continent of Africa and telling them off when they do not go by what the people of Africa really want. And I think this is the conversation we continually need to have. These are the kind of voices we continually need to have. And maybe the question then I'll be posing to Honorable Linda Masarira. Away from all this and away from what we continually speak of on our leaders and they say, for example, what they fail to do for us to have a better country or a better Africa. What is it that you can say, lobby groups, for instance? What is it you can talk of other institutions? The political parties, for instance, like the one you're leading, the lead party. What is it that you can do at your level to help realize the African renaissance? Because after all, this is something that we must achieve and realize by the end of the day, regardless of the obstacles, regardless of the hurdles that stand in the way towards the realization of this, we must achieve it nonetheless. What is it that the African people, of course, can do to continually force and remind the leadership that is in place that we need to do the right things for Africa, really, even to come out of poverty, for Africa to have good leadership, for Africa even to stop this menace of corruption that has become a very, very big cancer in almost every country in the continent of Africa. I submit, Dr.
Thank you very much, Tawish, for your views. And Daniel, you have heard Miriam, you have heard Madam Honorable Linda, you have heard Tawish. What is it that you want, you picked from this discussion, from her remarks?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga David. And of course, this particular television has always been an echo or maybe an amplifier of what Africa ought to be since the time we had our independence. And I've listened to the contribution of Miriam Ogutu, my colleague, listens to my brother Tawish Lesasina, and nothing actually could be further from the truth, because Africa needs actually to be assertive. Africa needs to come on board and be actually to reevaluate our values, the way we regard our economy, and even the way we regard our leadership and everything. But most importantly, I would just like to maybe add an icing on the cake on what Honorable Masarira from Zimbabwe has put out there, and maybe just mention perhaps whatever she put out there is what Africa need to be. And I would really like to see more strong African women like Honorable Masarira coming out. And my hope for the future is that maybe perhaps someday she becomes the president of Zimbabwe. Because one thing Dr. Matsanga maybe just to mention is that Dr. Matsanga has always been a kingmaker. When he has been here in Kenya, he'll tell you that he has seen so many young people that he held their hands becoming members of parliament and even made presidents to be in Africa. So maybe you might not be an exception. So my hope is that, but most importantly, let's go back to what is ailing Africa. And during the All African Conference in Ghana, where Kwame Nkrumah, the founding father of Ghana, brought together all the African leaders, students, and all the academicians from Africa. The dream was to bring Africa to a place where it can be able to compete with its former colonizers. The dream was to bring Africa together in terms of doing business, in terms of sharing ideas, in terms of even churning out education to the new African students who will in return go out to their countries and be able to uplift their societies. But soon after we had that particular conference, we seem to have backslid and went back to our old ways. And like you said, Honorable Masarira, is that we went back to start emulating and aping the ways of the white man. We went back and started now taking the positions that the white man had taken before, and actually which they used to discriminate and torture African people. So as it is, we do not have our own culture. We do not have our own way of leadership. Today, Dr. Matsanga will tell you that we are trying so much to emulate the democracy of a white man. And this democracy has been the biggest impediment to progress in Africa, because every election year in Africa, business has to stop, trade has to stop, education has to stop. People have to get into the streets to fight so that maybe at the end of the day, they have their preferred candidate into office. Why do we get bogged down with these push and pull in following the culture of the white man? It is because as African people, we have not accepted that we can as well, based on our own culture, we can as well rely on our own leadership structures to be able to take this continent to greatness. And another thing is that African people, we waste a lot of time in politics. We waste a lot of time fighting one another. Dr. Matsanga David yesterday talks about African leaders going out there on the media station. When we have an African leader being interviewed on an international TV station like Al Jazeera or CNN, you might think that we are actually at war with one another. When you listen to the likes of Chamisa talking in Zimbabwe against President Mnangagwa, you might think that Zimbabwe is going to collapse tomorrow. When you hear about Malema talking in South Africa against Ramaphosa, here in Kenya, our deputy president is actually talking as if he's at war with his boss, you know. You might think that we are going to an election tomorrow, and that is the way Africa is described. So the moment we waste a lot of time on politics, the moment we waste a lot of time chasing a vague mirage called democracy, we realize that Africa gets stuck in its past. We do not have progress as much as even countries like China, which do not have election, do. We do not have beautiful buildings, beautiful entertainment joints like Dubai, a country which does not hold election, do have. So I realize that Africans, we have been wasting all our time on the most useless things in this world. We have been given some things that do not add value to our governance. We have been given a religion that do not help us to think outside the box. And therefore, we still have remained puppets of the white man. The white man has to dictate to us how we do our business. The white man has to dictate to us how we hold our elections. The white man has to dictate to us what we learn even in schools. And therefore, we cannot progress unless the white man allows us. And maybe perhaps going into the future, what we need to do as African people is to walk out of this cocoon and chart our own future. Look at the resources that we have and determine how we're gonna mine these resources, how we're gonna process them and add value to it. We have to also decide on what kind of education are we going to give our children, and what kind of leadership structure are we going to put into our countries. Unless we have such autonomy, we have such independence, we cannot succeed as African people. I submit.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. This is Analyst the Gentleman 2019 TZ. Are you able to speak to us? Or you a silent listener? Okay. Thank you very much, my panel. Lots of things have come up. Honorable Linda, thank you for raising this. I'm going to give you time to reply to this. But I want to come to one element of Africa. And the Wesonga has raised the bar on this one. You have just raised an element of a bad Africa. Part of the bad Africa that Wesonga has raised, Daniel, is the Africa yesterday.
And
yes, you want to say something?
Yes, I was saying I would like to thank Daniel for his contribution. It was very worthwhile. The things that he has been speaking of is some of the advocacy work that I've been doing over the years. After we finish this show, I will send you a link to a 3-page article that I once wrote on the holding of fake elections in Zimbabwe. Because at the end of the day, these are some of the things that I've been interrogating over the years on whether or not elections benefit the people of Zimbabwe. Because from my own perspectives, they don't. But what I realized is that when you're not on the dining table, you're definitely the menu. I have to play the game the way.
Yeah, you are saying you are the menu, you are being eaten. Yes.
Exactly. So basically what I'm saying is, I have to be on the dining table for me to be able to influence policy, for me to be able to influence the change that I want to see. And right now, I've been having several engagements with several African emerging leaders like myself to say, how do we work together? How do we start planning for a new Africa that is Afrocentric with new governance system, a new legal system? It will not happen overnight. It is a process, but we have to get to a stage where we start doing this, having our own think tank that thinks for the future of Africa as a whole, not only for Zimbabwe, because as long as we are not planning as a continent, our planning becomes useless, because we cannot ignore the fact that we have got a lot of CIA agents in every African country working against our own sovereignty in our own countries. I have seen this in Zimbabwe. I have had first-hand experience with CIA agents, with embassy staff trying to twist my mind, to twist my brains, to think against my own country. I was even offered $1 million after I came out of prison when Mugabe had imprisoned me in 2016 to get this Woman of Courage award in America and go all over Europe speaking ill of my country. I told them I couldn't do that. I'm a Zimbabwean. I have to love my country first before any other country. No amount of money will ever make me hate my own country. I am a son and a daughter of the soil. Because when I look at myself, I'm a mother, I give birth to both male and female. So I become that head that is very important to the future of this continent. And I would never sell the sovereignty of Africa for any amount of money. And that is what African leaders should learn to do. We have had some people who are presidents in their countries right now who sold out other African states for wealth. I will not say their names right now, but they know themselves. People who have taken money from the CIA, from the Americans to fight against their own people. If the truth is to be told, all the ethnic wars we have in Africa are funded by the CIA. All the tribal wars we have in Africa are funded by the CIA. We've got the situation in Cabo Delgado in Mozambique is the CIA. We've got the situation in Ethiopia right now is the CIA, in Somalia, in Zimbabwe, everywhere. Our media in Zimbabwe is controlled by the CIA. They fund all the online media outlets to speak negative, ill, and anything that is bad about this country. You hardly find anything positive in the media about Zimbabwe because the CIA is in control. How many US military bases do we have in Africa? Nearly 52. For what? What is it that they're doing? Why are those African nations allowing the US military to set up bases in their own country? I respect Zimbabwe because we refused to have an American base set up in this country. That is why we've got sanctions. That is why they work hard to kill our economy, because they say we interfered with the US foreign policy. We are not an appendage of America. Zimbabwe will never be an appendage of America. And they do not control or dictate to Zimbabweans how we run our own economy or how we run our own politics. Right now, they want the oil that has been explored in Kanyemba in Zimbabwe. They want to set up a base there. Why are they setting up bases everywhere in the world? Who is America? And as long as Africans are not yet ready to hold hands and say no more to neo-colonialism, no more to imperialism in Africa, and no more interference from the Americans, we are not going anywhere. We need to appreciate the fact that all developing countries in Africa will never develop and will remain locked in trap where they will struggle to develop after conflict. Look at Mozambique. It has never developed after all those civil wars. Look at all the countries that have been in civil war. They are still in a state of retrogression, and where conflict occurs, it further erodes development. And when we are sincere that we want to develop Africa, the number one thing on every African's mind should be development, development, development. When we develop our own countries, our own cities, our own communities, we create the jobs that we cry for. Jobs don't fall from heaven like manna that was said to have fallen from heaven at some time in the biblical era. And some African countries have remained in permanent conflict, and that is a real cause of concern. And it is said that the African Union remains mum and remains like they're blind to the crisis that is in Africa. We hardly hear them saying anything, and the so-called United Nations, which does not care about Africa, is silent about everything that is happening in most African countries. So at the end of the day, if we want, and if we are sincere that we want to take charge and ownership of our own continent, we have to be able to speak with one voice as African people and say, this is our time, we are taking charge of our continent, hands off Africa. And was it Miriam? Miriam spoke about the issue to do with gender parity. I appreciate her facts. I understand her facts, and I'll also give a background of the gender issue and the gender crisis per se in Zimbabwe. Women only started to vote in Zimbabwe in 1984, after women had done advocacy on their right to vote. Women have been systematically marginalized, systematically elbowed out of governance issues. And this is not only a Zimbabwean problem, but I think it happens in most African countries where women are viewed as second-class citizens or just important for propping up the male leaders in political party structures or governance structures or even at the workplace. So there is still a lot of work that needs to be done to ensure gender parity. And there was a real need of course, to have gender parity being in the constitution, because men generally don't respect women. For some reason, I don't even understand why they don't respect women, because for you, Dr. Matsanga, to be seated there, you came from a woman. It was your mother who nurtured you. It's your wife who takes care of you. But when it comes to governance issues, we find that most men are the ones who are at the forefront saying we cannot be led by women. And they will fund women to fight against each other so that they do not support each other. And for us here in Zimbabwe, what we're doing with the likes of myself, I fought for my own space. If I was not a strong character, if I was not resilient, I wouldn't be where I am today. I've had the Chamisas, the Bitis, the Mugabes of this world fighting me since time immemorial. But I've stayed true to my cause. I've stayed true to my vision and said no one will close my space for me. And this is my message to all my African sisters out there. No one should stop you. Keep on fighting until you get what you want. No one has got a monopoly on leadership. No one has got a monopoly on politics. No one has got a monopoly on governance issues, and we will get there. It is time for a women's revolution, and we need to get our honor back and our dignity back as African women. In our own African traditional culture, women are revered. Women are very important people, but the religions that we have adopted over the years, which are patriarchal in nature, have caused our men in Africa to disrespect us and view us like non-entities in our own continent. And it is time that we arise, support each other, and move forward in the development agenda for Africa. And there was a question about what we are doing as a political party to stop some of the vices that are coming from our leaders. For us, we have said, we will do advocacy work until we get the results that we want. We hold all African leaders to account. Sometimes if you follow on my Twitter handle, I end up getting people saying, why are you looking at the affairs of another country? Why are you talking about other countries? I talk about other countries because I feel I have that responsibility to call Malema to order when he's wrong, to call Ramaphosa to order when he's wrong, to call Museveni to order if he's wrong. And that is the responsibility that we have. We have to get to a stage where we stop putting lipstick on a pig's nose and start telling the truth without fear of favor. We need to be able to call each other to order when we are wrong and say, President Uhuru, you are wrong. I'm just giving an example. And as long as we cannot tell each other when we are wrong, we are not doing justice to the cause that we want. And it is time for us to be able to unite as African people, stop talking about these borders that were created artificially at the Berlin Conference, start trading amongst ourselves, start having confidence in everything that is coming out of Africa, create powerful currencies, and become an economic powerhouse. That is what we need if we need to stop interference from the West and the East going forward.
Thank you very much, Madam Honorable Linda from Zimbabwe. Somebody from Zimbabwe agrees with you 100% because he's driving, he can't talk. The man down there, 2019 TZ, I believe is in Tanzania. But the points that you have raised this afternoon are cardinal points that affect Africa. The thing that I was trying to bring, why I have been saying you better come on a platform where every day, at least you can sing, this message goes down to leaders. This platform is picked by so many people for frankness, for being Pan-African. We talk things about Pan-African from here. We are not afraid to tell leaders of their mistakes. There's a point that I want to bring as we almost come to the close of this show. Opposition parties in Africa. Do they serve us or they serve them?
That is a very interesting question that you raise. A very interesting question, because for us, we do not take any donor funding. We are a self-funding party. I learned from my days at the MDC of how you end up being a puppet if you're always accepting the donations that come from the West. Most of these opposition parties that are always antagonistic are singing for their supper. They have to do that for the money to keep trickling in. And it is time for Africans to wisen up and say, if a political party is not speaking about development, if a political party is not speaking about things that develop self at a personal level, then there's no reason to follow. We cannot keep on fighting each other to serve Western interests. We have to be wise. We have to be wise about how we do our politics in this country and stop following the popular figures which lead us astray. I am one person who was not afraid to get out of a bus which was going in the wrong direction. And I'm proud of where I stand today because I've had the moral dignity to say, I will not work for the West or the West or the East. I will work for Africa. I will work for my soil, and I will work to ensure that Africa becomes the hub of the economy in the world. And that is my mission and my agenda. I don't need euros, I don't need the yens or whatever currency for me to be able to do what is right for Africa.
I was asking a question before my system and went off and then came back. Is the opposition in Africa for us or for them?
Exactly.
This question goes to everybody. Do we have an opposition? For example, in Honorable Linda hold the fire. Your opposition in Zimbabwe from Morgan Changarai, it went around calling for sanctions to come and kill you. And in fact,
that is the main reason why I left the MDC. Like I said, there is no free lunch in politics. When they give you funds, you have to play their song. They called for sanctions which destroyed the economy of Zimbabwe. Sanctions are a form of economic warfare. We are where we are today because of these sanctions. And for us, like I have highlighted earlier, we are not an opposition party. We are an alternative to the governance system. We call our government to account and we offer the alternative. And if a political party is not offering development, it is not worth following. Because at the end of the day, we are African people. Differing political ideologies should not make us enemies, but should make us interrogate issues to do with development, which develops every other person in that particular nation state. But if we continue having these Western-funded opposition parties, which are always antagonistic, which are always fighting against the development of that particular nation state, then there's no need to follow such. It is unfortunate that African people are so obsessed with popularity. Popularity will never translate to good leadership. That is what African people should learn. African people should stop wanting free things, freebies, being given donations for them to be able to vote for people, whatever. But African people should start interrogating those who are offering themselves for leadership if they are sincere, and if they've got any ounce of transformation that will develop a person at a personal level. That is what is important. But as long as we are going to be voting for people who are being funded by the West, who run Western interests, there is nothing for us. There is nothing for Africans without Africans. We need to change our governance systems. We need to change our political systems. And I'm proud to say that Labour Economists and African Democrats Lead is a self-funding party. We do not take any funds from the West or the East. We make our own money. We've got our own business unit. And that is the way we are doing politics. And all other political parties in Africa should learn to do the same. Learn to fund your own political activities. That is the only way you'll be able to maintain your own voice and to move your own agenda. There is no free lunch in politics. Once you accept donations, know that you are now a puppet and you have to work for the interests of the donor.
Oh my God. I don't know, Miriam, Miriam and Daniel, are you picking this seriously under Sharon? There is no free lunch in politics. If you accept free lunch, you become a puppet of the free luncher, the one giving you the lunch, isn't it? That's exactly that. If you pick handouts, are we picking handouts? Are we picking handouts in Africa to demonize Africa? The answer is yes. Most of the political parties in Africa, look at Chamisa in Zimbabwe. Chamisa is always $6 million was sent to MDC to dismember Zimbabwe. And probably to buy new houses and to accumulate more ladies. You know, there's an accumulation of ladies. That I don't want to use a very bad language here, but Chamisa has got the habit of accumulating new partners. So he's given money. Is that money building MDC? Are the MDC people well off with that money? Recently, we read a story in Zimbabwe which talks about $6 million given by USAID. The American CIA agents comes back to the government, to the police of Zimbabwe, to ask Zimbabwe Republic Police to go and arrest a gentleman who was in charge of NGO. If I were a member of the Zimbabwe police and the commissioner, I would not send my people there. Because if this man ate the money, that's very good. What was the money? Why didn't they send the money to the government? One of the mistakes that international community makes, it sends the money to individuals. In Kenya here where we are, how many individuals have benefited from George Soros? Very many. Those who did not have women, they have married more. Those who did not have a house, they have gone to build a house in Runda or in Karen. But to all ordinary people in Kenya, and I ask, ordinary people in Kenya know about these NGOs, the NGOs that go around in Europe to collect money on behalf of you Kenyan, of you Zimbabwean, of you Somali, of you Ugandan. Your money is being collected. Someone is collecting money on your behalf that is going to oppose Museveni. Now, does this man account for the money that he collects on your behalf? I have been one of the few people who has refused that type of doctrine. I have never gone to any international NGO seeking $1. I have never called for sanctions against my own government, despite the fact that, yes, there are some things that are short to fall, very bad, some of them democratically very bad, that you don't want to mention them here on the TV. But I've never called for sanctions. But how many countries in Africa, in Kenya, Miriam, how many people, how many agencies are picking money? Today we have an election coming in Kenya. You have just in the first program, you are talking of people shifting alliances, looking for handouts, the lunch, free lunch, which Linda is saying you have a very big free lunch. We have a problem here. And that is the problem that Africa must cure first. And that is the problem. Miriam, your contribution as we come to the winding table.
Yeah, I've been listening. So my final thoughts on that, I think, Linda, what you've said is also true. All politics are local, but a lot of it, you know, the opposition, as you've said, a lot of times they're supposed to be offering alternative solutions to where they feel the government is not doing very well. But here we have an opposition that is very vindictive, an opposition that whose agenda is not constructive, is not to offer better leadership or to, you know, be part of the developmental agenda, the big agenda of a country. So I think that is something that we have to look at and see that we have politics that is meant for the better good of our people. That is an element that is really lacking in the political dynamics across, you know, both here in Africa, and when you look at the opposition and how the opposition has been playing its role in the political scene across the continent. So I think that is what I picked up, and all politics are local, so sometimes it becomes a bit tricky, you know, in different countries, and how we allow other interests to come in and influence the agenda that we have for our people.
Thank you very much, Miriam. I can see Engineer Hamid. Engineer Hamid, I think from Khartoum. Engineer Hamid, you want to speak? You want to give your contribution now? You are from Sudan or somewhere you are joining us. Do you want to make your contribution before I come to others? Engineer. Engineer Hamid. Okay, let's go to Daniel. Make your final. Miriam has agreed with Honorable Linda on the question of parties being funded by external agencies of CIA, outfits of Central Intelligence Agencies that have killed Africa for years. And remember, there is one thing, Linda, before Wesonga comes. Zimbabwe is printing passports. I'm told you are printing new passports. What a shame. Can you look at what happened to the first Secretary General of the United Nations who died in Congo? The imprint of your passport is what killed him. If you look at the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, the Secretary General was opposed to the killing of Patrice Lumumba. But because in his passport, there was an imprint which is put, which locates you, locates your plane, locates where you are going. The man's plane was brought down. But I hear you are printing passports. It's up to you. I don't want to say more than that. Have you checked the type of people who are printing your passports? Who are they? Are they not George Soros? Whom do they bank their money with? The gentleman printing your passport, the company, banks money with George Soros. I don't know in Shona what you said. Tuambiane ukweli. Let's say the truth in Shona. But someone is printing passport. You are now giving data to the enemy. And you are going to an election. They are going to utilize the data expert is here. Look at this one here in the white. This man here, the small guy here. Ask him. George Soros collects data. He collects data in Paris by the DSGE. And have you ever seen of George Soros being arrested by Interpol? Show me where there's a warrant by Interpol that when you see George Soros climbing a plane from the United States, get him. 2, George Soros tells you, if you went to US and put a website and said, my website is to overthrow the government of the United States, will you not be arrested? No, you tell me, people who are here, won't you be arrested? You will be arrested there and then by the FBI.
Right now, they even want to keep Assange.
But when George Soros puts a website of Open Society Foundation to say this website is to overthrow governments in the world, and we Africans are laughing, we Chamisa are laughing, Miriam. Chamisa is happily seen with a man of Vanguard. Vanguard, you in Zimbabwe, you have even brought Vanguard in Africa and put it in MDC. You have a group called Vanguard in Zimbabwe. MDC is part, Vanguard Africa sponsors Vanguard in MDC. But who sponsors Vanguard Africa is George Soros. Who sponsors that man of the bank who prints your passports? He banks in George Soros banks. All laundered money is in the Paris. Did you know that all the laundered money in the world, the headquarters of laundered money is in Paris, France, where George Soros has a bank? But have you seen the United States issuing a warrant of arrest against George Soros? But you, a poor African, go in Uganda, you say one word about US, they will put sanctions on you and say you never froze. Even they freeze a house which you have never owned. Have you seen the people whose assets are frozen? Are you me? I don't have a house in the US. Then you freeze a house in the US of a Ugandan who has no house, of a Zimbabwean who has no house in the US. Does your Minister of Security in Zimbabwe have a house in the US? No. So the law is very draconian in the US, freezing an asset. What asset can you freeze in the US? Of a Minister of State, Mr. Kube, in Zimbabwe of Security, that you have frozen and put sanctions on him. What assets does he have in the US? You are just doing it for political posturing. It doesn't help at all. Why do you kill Gaddafi? Why do you kill Libya if you hate Gaddafi? Why do you kill Libya if you hate Gaddafi? Why don't you look for Gaddafi alone? And if you hate him so much to the extent, you would have spared Libya, and Libya would have not gone to be a begging bowl of Africa today. Look at Libyans, the way they are suffering. These are things we have got to talk, and the West must also allow us to talk, because they came here with the Bible and the Quran. And while we are reading the Bible, they were busy encroaching on other operations. In Kenya, there is a saying, Miriam will tell you, that we kept on reading the Bible and while the land was being taken. At the coast, we kept on singing Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. While the coast was people were being brought. Do you know that the Arabs are more deadly than the whites when it comes to treating we blacks? Did you know that? Have you ever gone to Saudi Arabia and come back alive with them? If you come back alive as a girl, beautiful as you people, African girls are, you will be very lucky. How many Arabs, how many Africans, Ugandans are dying in Saudi Arabia? Kenyans, Zimbabweans who are killed, who are being brought back to Harare Mugabe International Airport, dead, because they are hated by their Gulf masters. They don't want to do work. Their wives are lazy. Their wives just come and sit out and lay their legs to produce children. They don't do any work, any housework. They call we African people maids to go and do work in Saudi Arabia. And then at the end, when you have done very well and you have done for 2 years, they kill you. They don't pay you. Dr. Ahmed is from Central Africa in Chad. and he wants to say something. I'm happy. Chad is one of the countries where we have a problem. You have a president killed by people whom you know they are there as rebels. They come and kill a president. Have you seen how are we cast in Africa? Some rebels are trained by Western country, by France, to go and kill a president. And they come on national television and celebrate, we killed him at the battlefield. We know where they are. What is African Union? And lastly, Madame Linda Masasira, this name Masarira, now I've got it. Linda Masarira, Honorable Linda Masarira. Lastly, you talked about the AU. Madame, which AU? Which AU? AU with a man from Chad called Mohamed Faki. We have been sold to France. We have been rented. AU is rented. Have you seen a landlord picking rent? AU is rented. So we are done. That's the Africa that we have. That is the Africa. AU can do nothing. Therefore, I want to thank you so much. As Wesonga puts in his final thought, we are Africa. This platform is for you. Keep on coming on this platform. This show, Diplomatic Leaks, is yours. Let's speak about the evil of our opposition. Does the opposition serve us or they serve their stomachs? They tell us to go and break down things in the streets, but they go and build houses in South Africa. If you ask Chamisa how many houses he has in South Africa, he has hidden one to his uncle, one to his nephew, another one to his other wife, another one. So are the people of Zimbabwe gaining out of the money that George Soros gives him? No. It is himself. What has created the collapse of MDC in South Africa, in Zimbabwe? What has destroyed the MDC is money. From Morgan Changarai to Walishman Kube to Tendai Biti, whom I beat, I used to beat and box them. Maybe you, Linda, you have not been told. I've beaten Professor Walishman before. When he sees me in Zimbabwe, in Sheraton Hotel, he can run through the other back door. Because I beat him up.
Why?
I beat him up because he was calling for sanctions. In London, ask him. He fears me. I stood up in a conference and I slapped him and I walked down. I said, here the British police will not harass me. I will pay 50 pounds and I go home. You are stupid. How can you come here to call for sanctions? You look at Morgan Changarai's book. You will find a full chapter on Matsanga for beating them. I was beating them to save Zimbabwe. I was slapping them to save Zimbabwe. I was not saving my country, Uganda. I was not saving my country, Uganda. I was saving that country. Look at where they have brought that country. And then they wear suits. I'm a lawyer, rubbish. I am Tendai Biti, rubbish. They have been cast. Tell them that Matsanga says you have been cast. And that you will never touch leadership of that country ever. Ever. If they catch it, if I'm alive, I will come. Listen to me, Zimbabweans. I will come to defend Emerson. There are some traitor groups I'm seeing around Emerson, and they should watch out because I've already listed them. We know you. We shall defend Emerson up to the end. Like I defend Uhuru Kenyatta up to the end. If we have no vote, our term of office will end in 7 months. We shall not lack food. Yes, but I will not change to defend Ruto again. That's the end. That's me. Look at me. I'm Nyerere. Look at my voice. Listen to my voice. And go and listen to the voice of Nyerere and Nkrumah. Look at the sound. The voices of men who stand up. Look at the sound of the voice of Tutu. What's a smaller voice like mine? Smaller voice is leadership. Nyerere's voice was small. Nkrumah, listen to the voices. You are an expert on this. Go and look at Tutu, Nyerere. Men who speak like I speak are leaders. Not, this voice like that one, Chakwera of Malawi. That cannot lead. It's going to be thrown out. That is English copied from somewhere in Scotland. Look at Emerson's voice. Isn't it the same? No, you are from Zimbabwe. Doesn't he speak the same way? It's not big voice. I speak the truth. Let Africa stand up and unite, or we perish. We are in chaos at crossroads. You come and kill a president, shoot him, then France comes and installs the son. In Mali, they brought ISIS. Gaddafi was telling you ISIS will kill Mali. People did not want to listen. Now what is happening in Sahel region? Tell me, Madame Cape Delgado, who planted the ISIS there? Who planted those terrorists there? Can I tell you, we in East Africa, we don't joke. Kagame went there. Are they still joking? Are they still alive? Are they still alive? Yeah, I give Kagame. I give Kagame credit. He went there and silenced them. 2 weeks. Yeah, finished. Do you hear about them again? You can go and accuse us to heaven. We East Africans don't joke with such groups. That's why at times for me, with President Museveni, on democracy I don't want to even talk about it. His record is not very good. But on security, President Museveni's record is 100% correct. If they had left us these Somalis in Somalia, we would have taken them to Indian Ocean, all of them. I'm telling you, and that country would be back. But the AMSOM, UN came in. You have seen now what the mess we have. Congo. Have you seen what is in Congo? We have gone into, we are going to cut it. No, listen, we are cutting it into states. Somebody has to do something in Africa different. After all, these boundaries were drawn by Bismarck in Berlin. Were we there? Were you there? Was your father there? Was my father there? Bas. Nigeria, a giant collapsing. People live on water. Houses are built on water. You have to go to your house in a canoe to enter your door and the sleep water is down. What about if a snake comes? People are living very badly. You come to Africa and the big leaders and say ICC. What is disturbing Sudan? Isn't it ICC? There are people in Sudan who are saying, why do you take Bashir? 29 years, you mean Bashir didn't do anything to make that country better? Surely, you tell me Mugabe didn't do anything to make it better? No, if you are an African and you wake up and tell me Mugabe did nothing, then I will not entertain you in my house. I tell you to go in the lift and go away. Just tell me there were things Mugabe did very well, and there were things he didn't do very well. But if you come and say Mugabe did nothing in Zimbabwe, me who teaches, who has read political science to the last iota on planet Earth, Walayamu, not me. I tell you to go away from me. Because there are things Mugabe did very well. One of them is reconciliation. People say Mandela was the first man to reconcile. How? Mugabe is the first man who gave Smith a handshake. The butcher of Salisbury was welcomed and well kept in Borodale. I know the area, the house of where Smith was staying in Borodale. Up to the end when he died. Did Mugabe touch him? Mugabe did a great job to give land. Honorable Masarira, are you not on your plot? Don't you have a small plot where you are living?
I do.
You wanted to live as a squatter, so you blame Mugabe. No, let's blame ourselves. Opposition also has a problem. A bad opposition is equivalent to a dangerous leprosy. You know, leprosy is a very dangerous disease. If you have a bad opposition that opposes only for the sake of the stomach, like the one in the MDC in Zimbabwe, then you have a problem. They fight amongst themselves about the money which is not even theirs. Mazora versus Chamisa. Chamisa versus another thief called Tendai Bit, very dangerous in Ikopu, who went around calling for Sanko to come for Zimbabwe. Today he says that because he has a big stomach and a heavy body, he says, I'm also wanting to be a president. President of who? You Zimbabweans. There is another one called Jonathan Moyo with a bad head somewhere here. Stupid means a man, a professor of political science, becomes very stupid and is now busy writing on Twitter, oh, do this. Rubbish. He's the one who brought Mugabe down. When I was telling him as an elder, I'm older than Professor Moyo. Although his face is very small, looks like he's older. I told Professor Moyo, please, allow this Wazungu to come and report. There will be nothing, they will report after 2 months. And you continue with them. They turned on me and they said, no, I'm bringing in Sky News. Why do they? I told them, if you allow them to report, but if you stop them from reporting, believe me or not, they are going to damage you. Isn't it exactly what they did? And the things that happened in Zimbabwe, different from what happens in New York. You mean in New York are there people not being killed? Like last night now, they are waking up. The people have already died. Is it worse? Not worse in New York? So Professor Moyo did not like that. Now they are busy forming a group calling themselves G40. But G40 to G for who? What can G40 do, which you failed to do? So these are some of the challenges that Africa has. Everywhere in Mali, the government there. Do you know, Honorable Linda, I want you to agree with me that the people in Mali, the military in Mali is correct. It has asked for 5 years. I am happy with that. If they can organize and have a new constitution, which will not make people fight, not make soldiers to come and overthrow a government again, let it be. The military in Conakry, the one that overthrew Conde, and these are the subjects you talk about every day. A coup in Conakry, they have allowed Conde to go for medical treatment. I've never seen military men. Idi Amin could not allow you to go for medical treatment. You see, that is a new breed of African younger generation coming of your age. But why is the military coming? Is because they are fed up with the new corruption that is among the civilian government. So let the civilian governments clean themselves. And who is corrupting the civilian government? It's the West, the George Soros. They pay the civilian government. For example, you are printing passports. Now, how much money has gone in those passports? And you are printing your own data, which is going to be used by Chamisa. They are collecting data to take to Paris, and they will give to Chamisa to use it. And they say, I won an election, and Mnangagwa stole my election. You are going to see. Well, Haki, I don't know in Shona, what do you say? Before God, what do you say?
Pamberi.
Pamberi who?
Amari.
Amari, Pamberi, Bamari. Bas, I'm telling you. They are going, you wait, 2023 is here. Mr. Chamisa is going to come with that data, which is collected by Strive Masiua's Liquid company, isn't it? Do you have any other company there? Isn't it Strive Masiua who deals with these Western countries? Do you have any? Nyenye wa Zimbabwe, you people don't listen. The biggest problem in Africa is that they don't listen to a black doctor like Matsanga. They want a Muzungu. That's why the government goes to London to look for PR people who are Muzungu. Get me, Matsanga, 37 years, I know every London. Every London. All these people. All of them came and found me there. 37 years. I know every corner of London. When I went to live in my place where I live, in Croydon, I was the only black man around the area shopping in one shop. So you think I don't know PR companies in London? I can do for free. But people want money, pay millions of dollars that is doing a PR. You think I don't know? If I pick a phone and call House of Lords, I know how many members of House of Lords. 22 House of Lords. 6 women, Baroness, are my friends. Baroness Catherine, Baroness Amos, Baroness Beckett, Baroness, my God, they are my friends. One telephone call, they will say, David, what problem do you have? But is there any African country using me? No, because they think I did not study the same subject. Okay, to leave it. Because someone wants to make money in the middle, carries the money and lies to the president that I'm doing a PR. What PR? Get off. Get off. That's why Africa is bleeding. That's why Africa is bleeding. That's why Mali is bleeding. That's why Chad is bleeding. That's why Nigeria, Buhari pays the highest company of PR in the world to do what? When people are sleeping on water. When the electricity for 60 years has not reached the villages in the Igbo land. Tell me. Tell me. Where are we heading? 2023 is coming in Zimbabwe. You are going to cry again. You are saying you are doing election. You are doing, what election are you doing? You are now giving data to a company which is going to take data to George Soros and then use the election now is won by fraudulently using data. Am I wrong? Did you know that?
It's quite eye-opening. It's quite eye-opening. I've actually been letting that sink because
go across. Don't even say eye-opening. Go across in Zambia. What was done to Lungu? Eh? No, what was done to Lungu? Go up in Malawi. What was done to Mutharika? So you give your...
I will give you a ring after the show, Dr. Matsanga. We really need to talk more.
I'm telling you, what I'm telling you here are facts. Election is won. George Soros, look, ask Daniel Wesonga, open your screen. Open your screen now. And you will see in Kenya at the moment, let him tell you, we have one candidate called Musalia Mudavadi, who is picking money from George Soros. And every moment he is getting more confused than even confusion itself. He doesn't know what to do. Oh, do I go here? Do I go there? They are telling him go with the man they have already funded. The man they have funded to disorganize who? Uhuru Kenyatta. In Zimbabwe, they have already started funding Chamisa for 2023. And then you deliver all your data to the same company that goes to George Soros. Are you mad? What bewitched us in Africa? Who sent the witches to come to bewitch this continent? Wesonga, tell them.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga David, and I'll try to be as much precise as possible in my parting shot. And in this particular discussion, it is quite clear that Africans, we do most of the time confuse our independence in terms of definition, in that we presume that we got our independence the moment the white man set off their feet from the African continent. But I believe that the real independence comes when we have the financial independence, when we have independence in trade and industry, when we have independence in the way we manage our very own politics. Honorable Masasira has talked about the CIA being in Africa and actually meddling in the leadership of African countries. And I will say that the CIA has been the axis of evil in Africa for the longest time. And the moment we had the CIA in the African soils, we started having Africa losing its leadership, Africa losing its leaders, and also even its independence in the way that it conducts its affairs. Today, Congo is in crisis because it had a false start in the way Patrice Lumumba was prematurely taken out of leadership and butchered in cold blood. Today, we are having leadership wrangles in the West African part of the continent because the CIA has been intensely involved in who becomes the leader of any specific country in West Africa. Today, the Maghreb and Sahel region are experiencing the same courtesy of the CIA. And in terms of the African Union, we've become very culpable to the Western powers and the Middle East and China in terms of how we run our affairs. Dr. Matsanga talked about the AU being bought by the foreign powers, but also we have to come to terms that the AU building in Addis Ababa is the most backed building in terms of foreign interference by the CIA, China, and France, in that the AU cannot even hold a meeting in the building because by the moment they will be closing the meeting, the minutes of that particular meeting will be in Washington, it will be in Paris, it will be in Beijing, China, and the whole world will know whatever the AU was discussing about. But because of them being bought by these foreign powers, the AU has become a double tragedy, because they make their decisions based on the highest bidder, who gives Musa Muhammad Faki money, who finances his bid to run for AU. That is France. And therefore, we can never have an arbiter in these misfortunes that Africa has. And there's a very, very dire need now for the African people themselves to decide on their destinies. It's a good thing that we see leaders like Honorable Masasira coming out clearly and saying that we are Africans, and therefore the destiny of our country has to be in our own hands. We cannot accept being given money to travel to New York to be able to undermine Zimbabwe. We cannot accept to be given money here in Kenya to undermine the leadership of President Uhuru Kenyatta through the Open Society Foundation. And that is the path we should follow as the African people. When we actually form a deterrence wall against these foreign interferers and foreign financiers, we become independent in our own thinking. We become independent in the way we want to govern ourselves. And therefore, the only way for the African people is to actually refuse these foreign powers to impose sanctions in African countries, refuse to be used by these foreign powers, actually destabilize leadership that has been elected by the people of our country, is actually also to refuse to be used by the foreign powers to fight one another. Right now, Uganda and Rwanda are not doing business simply because the border is closed, and this is because of the Cold War, which is perpetrated by the foreign powers. We should put that aside as Africans, and we should actually look forward to opening our borders. Remember, Dr. Masanga mentioned that these borders were drawn by Ottoman Bismarck in Germany, and they're the same borders which do not allow Zimbabweans to go to South Africa to work, the same borders which do not allow Somalis to come into Kenya and Kenyans to go into Somalia peacefully. They are the same borders which are preventing Rwandese people to do business with their Ugandan partners. So I believe once we are able to do away with anything really that was imposed on us by our former colonizers, we shall be able to rediscover ourselves as Africa. So let's demolish these borders which are preventing business and commerce to occur amongst Africans. Let's also demolish these NGOs which are being used as conduits to bring dirty money, evil black money to destabilize our governments. And also let us also work to fight the interference of the CIA and other foreign agencies, which are always at the neck of our governments, which do not allow our governments to work and be able to serve our people in independence. Because you cannot work if there's someone who is following you in your own house. If you have someone who is following you into the kitchen, into the bedroom, you cannot even perform your duties as the owner of the home. So that is the way to go. We should seek our own independence. We have to realize that Africa is not fully independent unless we are able to chart our own future. We are able to take control of our own economy. I submit.
Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time, Shakespeare said, world is a stage where you come, perform, and exit. We have been listening for the last 2.5 hours, all the way from Punchline Africa Television, a program, Diplomatic Leaks. Our guest this morning has been Linda Masalira from Zimbabwe. Honorable Linda Masalira from Zimbabwe is a member, the leader of a party called LEAD in Africa. She's a Pan-African. We shall be bringing you on the evening shows, good shows of Matsanga Africa perspective. Very interesting. Where you see Nigeria collapsing with all the money it has. Where you see people killing each other in Democratic Republic of Congo with diamonds. Where you see Kabila requesting for foreign money to do an election. Then when the election observers refuse the results, you condemn them as colonialists. Why do you ask for their money? Why? Then they will not come as observers. If I've given you my money, I must come and see how you are using it. But if you hold your own election without any support, nobody will want to come. So there are so many topics to change our continent. And let's speak out for our continent. Let's look at what ails our continent. Why conflicts are more and more prevalent on our continent. The better we speak If we don't speak, conflicts will come. For example, this morning, today, I believe Linda has learned something about their passport and what is going on. You are giving data to Mr. George Soros. The man banks in Paris, in George Soros Bank. France lives because of George Soros money. Why does Russia look for George Soros? Because he stole all their money and banked it in Paris. They can't hold it. You remember the first man who took Coca-Cola to Russia when the communist state collapsed? Who was the man? Did you know him? George Soros. He sold them a hot air. And the Russians started drinking Coca-Cola. But he made billions and billions of money. When they realized later their money was gone. Does it sound to you that the two buildings in New York, one is for Trump and the other one tower is for George Soros? They all look at each other. But Trump is the president, cannot arrest George Soros. Why? Why? So as an African, sit back. The NGO you hold, the NGO you create, is it helping anybody in Bulawayo, in Rupane, in Victoria, in Bindura, in Mazoe? You see, I know all these places, in all those places, up there, Marondera, all those, Chinoi, is the money helping people in Chinoi? Or the money is building houses, Mr. Chamisa? You are buying more houses. Chamisa says, they used to say that Mugabe has done very bad to grab land. But Chamisa, I can tell you the Chamisa's export company for flowers. I have pictures and intelligence with documents. He exports flowers to Netherlands every day. There's a flight leaving Harare International Airport with Chamisa's flowers for money. Now, why do they say that Mugabe did wrong? Is Chamisa not earning foreign currency? Changarai's sons have taken over the farms that the father in Buhera. Are they not exporting flowers? Is that money helping Mugabe, who is dead? Aha. Have you seen the challenge I'm talking about? We Africans are bewitched. Chamisa exports flowers every day to London, Marks and Spencer, and the Netherlands. His company, his farm, exports flowers. But he doesn't want to tell Zimbabweans. He tells Zimbabweans, Mnangagwa is very bad. Mnangagwa is very bad. Why don't you, if it's bad, why don't you stop exporting flowers? The land policy is very bad. The land policy is very bad. When the late general who died, who was in charge of lands, was trying to distribute this land. What is it? Piri, Field Marshal, Air Marshal Piri, Perez, my good friend Perez Piri. We are all generals. We are all generals. I'm a soldier by background. That's why I don't fear. When he tried to, he was giving people to have equitable distribution export of flowers. Now Chamisa exports flowers and tells Zimbabweans, we have to come on the street and demonstrate. Have to come on the street and demonstrate. Allah, 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 Allah. Let me give you your parting shot. You're open. Unmute. 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 Unmute.
What did I do here?
Yes, unmute now.
That's what I'm trying to do. What is happening to my...
No, but we are hearing you. You can talk that way.
You can hear me now?
Yes, we hear you. Even if the picture is not seen, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, fine. No, thank you very much for this enlightening show. And I would like to thank everyone for listening and thank you for this opportunity. And let us do the best that we can do for Africa, because there's nothing for Africans without Africans.
Thank you very much, all of you. Thank you very much, all those who have been watching our show. We have stretched it up to 1:30. Thank you very much, all those who were here before and went. God bless you. This station is for Africa, with Africa, by Africa. Ciao.